So yesterday we started exploring the middle path. We didn't read so much, of the text inside, but we tried to get a deeper understanding and appreciation of the golden mean, right? The balance, the in between the two extremes. So the way we understood it yesterday is really that the Rambam is establishing, and we'll see this throughout this Pirkei and throughout Shemona Prakim, that the Rambam is establishing he's applying this rule in a theoretical context and in a practical context. So theoretically, that's something we'll see in this Pirkei towards the end more, that we should understand. First, we should understand what is the right. The subtitle of this Pirkei is how to heal the sick, choyle nefesh, right? The soul that's dysfunctional and sick and not operating the right way. So before we heal it, first let's talk about what a healthy soul looks like. And the healthy soul is balanced. It's balanced and it's the middle path. And yesterday we said that the middle is defined by the fact that it is equally independent of both extremes. So the extreme reaction is the instinctive reaction. It's the extreme reaction is to be extremely stingy or extremely reckless with your money, or to eat tremendous amount of food, or to not have an appetite at all. And to eat, some people are like me, and some other people I know are all or nothing, right? So either if you do exercise, you have momentum, and you go to the gym every day, you work out. If you miss 2 days, that's it. Boom, you can't find me for 2 months. Right? Because if I'm in the mode and if I'm in the zone, then I'm there, I'm locked in. Either I'm locked in or I'm not. So we all have extreme tendencies. So we all, the sort of the default is some people naturally are drawn to one extreme. So again, when we say naturally, let's just reiterate what the Rambam says, and that is that the reason why the middle path is the golden mean and that is the right way is because that's how we were created. And how do I know that we were created that way? Because Hashem made a person perfect. And perfect means that he is not inclined to do anything out of the ordinary. Right? So a person is not born with any inclinations. A person is born, every child is born in the image of Hashem, and that is not extreme in any way. And that is perfect. Now, what happens is that people throughout life are influenced. They're influenced by their family. They're influenced by their community. They're influenced by all types of circumstances that life throws their way, and that takes them on a certain path and a certain trajectory. And their actions that they do growing up shape their personality, and the personality further feeds in. So you have a cycle. So now we as adults show up, and we show up to the Rambam's clinic. And that's really what this Pirkei is. We show up to the Rambam's clinic because the Rambam said that just like when you have a sick body physically, you go to a physician, you go to a doctor. So when you have a sick soul, you have a sick nefesh, you go to the choyle nefesh, and then you go to a doctor. And we all have a choyle nefesh, right? We overeat, we indulge in unhealthy ways. Now, the tachlis, like the Rambam said, isn't that we should abstain, right? We shouldn't go hide in a corner and live in the forest. That's not what the Rambam holds, and it's not ideal either. Even though they're big tzaddikim that did it, that is not ideal. The ideal is, again, because that is the other extreme. That is the all or nothing. Right? All or nothing is either I'm on an extreme diet, off dairy, off wheat, off whatever, off everything, and I only eat mamish something, or I mamish eat chazerai. To eat normal, healthy, balanced diet, everyone knows that that's the hardest thing. That's why you meet so many people that are on carb-free diets and all these things, and everyone knows, it's going to take a month, a week, whatever it is, and these people are going to be off it because it's not sustainable, and it's inherently extreme. Now, why does a person do it? Because it's easier not to eat any carbs than to eat carbs but not cake, right? It's easier to do that. Everyone knows this intuitively. I don't even have to explain it. It's bullshit, right? And that is what we mean that the middle way is independent of both extremes. Because when you can make the decision that you will eat carbs and you won't eat cake, that means that you are independent of the abstinence, you're independent of the lacking, of the fasting, and you're also independent of the indulgence. And that is extremely difficult. But that is the perfect balance. You're not extreme in any way, you're not on any default settings, you're making decisions based on your health, your situation, your age, your height, your weight, your everything. You took in all the intake and you're making the appropriate decisions for your body now, and that is equally independent of anything. And that is the Derech Hashem L'asas Tzedakah Mishpat. There is a Derech Hashem how to eat food. But the Rambam says this in Hilchos Deis Rambam. There is a Derech Hashem how to eat supper. And this is very important, obviously, according to the Rambam, because the way you eat supper reflects on your personality traits, and your personality traits reflect on your persona. Your persona is what is connecting to Hashem, right? So all these things, everyone wonders, why does the Rambam start Mishnah Torah with prakim upon prakim on diet? Why is that important? That's important because diet is an expression of your personality trait. Diet and sleeping and all types of behavioral activity is an expression of your personality, and your personality is the vessel which you worship Hashem, which you go through this world and which you connect, and ultimately what makes you human, right? That is the form to the matter. And all these things reflect, that your outside actions, they reflect on what's going on inside. Therefore, we saw yesterday, I'm in it, shut off your mic, Azoy. So we saw yesterday that, so yesterday, this is sort of what we saw yesterday, the virtue of the middle path, and both extremes are absolutely bad. Fine. Now, let's finally talk about what we do when we have someone, like all of us, who is not balanced. So, we are over here. So the Rambam is saying that every person is born 45. So the second line. So the Rambam said that every person is born in a person is born yeah. Okay, one strike is acceptable. Anyway, so I want to thank Moshe Chaim every day for posting a reminder. Even though sometimes, we all have our ups and downs, but overall, he does his job very well. Anyway, so the Rambam said that a person is born not virtuous and not lacking. A person is born on the 50%, on the 50-yard line. That's where every person is born. And that's where he's at. But what happens is that when he grows up, and like we said before, so now when he shows up to the clinic and he's 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, his appetite of soul is sick, he indulges like and when he doesn't indulge, he's extreme the other way, he just runs from one extreme to the other. And that's what we do. When you think about when you work on yourself, usually what happens is you realize that you're at one extreme and you don't know what to do. The easiest thing to do is to go to the other extreme. Now the Rambam says that is also the right thing to do. Now that's important. But not because that is the right activity. It's not the right action. It's the right treatment. So let's understand what he's saying. The Rambam is saying is that when a person comes into the doctor, now I have this shmooze in my wife every now and then. You feel like someone has strep, right? So someone has strep, they start taking vitamin C. The problem is when you have strep, it's too late to take vitamin C. Vitamin C you could take it last week. If you don't want to get sick, then what you do is you eat healthy, you act healthy, and one of the things is vitamin C is the vitamin of life, and you need to take vitamin C. And if a person takes vitamin C consistently, it's very likely that they will get sick less, and their body's going to be better, their immune system is going to be better, everything's going to be better. But if a person is already sick, then whatever helps the healthy person, it won't help him anymore. This person needs treatment. This person needs real help. So, says the Rambam, that when a person comes to the doctor and he's sick, the doctor is not going to tell him to take whatever healthy people eat. So if a regular person has to eat a certain diet to keep him healthy, now when a sick person comes in, the doctor's not going to give him the same diet. This is a healthy diet. Yes, but that is a healthy diet for a healthy person with a healthy digestive system and healthy habits. But you're a sick person, you have terrible habits, and your body is sick, so you need to take antibiotics. Antibiotics is not good for you. No one is ever going to say that antibiotics is good for a person. Antibiotics kills bacteria, and a person has a lot of good bacteria that they need, and antibiotics kills that. So antibiotics is not good, but the problem is that if you're sick, you need to take antibiotics. Now, if a healthy person were to take antibiotics, he would be making himself sick. But because you're coming into the clinic because you are sick, so you need to take antibiotics. Now, if I ask you a question, is antibiotics good or not good? The answer is, antibiotics in itself is not healthy. But sick people need it. So now, so it says the Rambam like this: someone who's sick, we have to treat him the way we treat someone who's sick. The way we treat someone whose body is sick. And just like when someone's sick and his state of health is out of equilibrium, what we do is that we so let's say he has fever, so we tell him, let's say if a person has fever, we tell him to take, to wash his face with cold water, right? So a regular person, do we tell him to do that? No, because a regular person is not good, it's not geschmack, no one wants that. But if your body is overheating, we need to cool you down. Healthy people don't need to be cooled down. True, because they don't have fever. Fine. So now, the Rambam says so just like when someone is sick, when it went out of its equilibrium, we're going to see to which extreme it went. We're going to take it to the other extreme until this person is going to fall back into the middle. When a person is finally going to get back to the middle, when his body temperature is going to regulate, then we won't give him any more cold water. Just like when a person is going to come in and his body temperature is high, what we're going to do is we're going to cool him off. We're going to give him something we won't give a normal healthy person until this person's body heat regulates. Now when this person's body heat is going to regulate, we're going to leave him alone. We're going to start treating him like a normal person. Says the Rambam in the same way. In the same way when a person comes in and he has a personality trait that's not beside the emotionally he's very stingy, he doesn't spend any money. So this person, he is unhealthy. He's extreme. In what way? He holds on to his money. So what we do is, and by the way, that is a terrible deficiency, that is lacking, that is not good, that is a vice. That is not in personality. We're not talking about actions. We are much more concerned with personality trait and the persona than the action. So this person's personality is that he's a stingy person. We have to break that. The way we break it is we don't tell him, be generous. Because generosity is the middle path. And this person doesn't need the middle. So what we tell this person is be reckless. So when someone's very stingy and he comes to you and he says, I want to help myself, so you tell him, go to the most expensive restaurant in town, take out 4 friends on you, and that's not a normal thing. You shouldn't do that. A healthy person with normal spending habits does not do that. But you have to do it. Why do you have to do it? Because we have to break you. Because you are sick, because you hold on to your money, you're connected to your money. And the only way we're going to break you is if we break the cycle, because as we said, actions feed into the personality trait and that further. So we have to break that cycle. How do we break that vicious cycle? By forcing you to do extreme action. So we're going to take you all the way extreme, and we're going to make you spend money that you'll never spend, and you'll cringe and you won't be able to sleep at night. Because how could you spend so much money and look how much food is going out? And you know what they're going to do? They're going to buy food, they're going to leave it on the table, and then they're going to throw it out in front of you. That's what I would do if I would eat out with you. So I would make you take me out for supper, buy 5 steaks, and not eat any of it, to throw it out and let you get sick. And watch you. That's what I would want to watch. Why? Because I know what it does to you. And what that's going to do slowly, it's going to break your relationship with your money. Now, once we get to a certain situation where we could let go, and we see that you got the message and you're cured and you were able to appreciate a certain disconnect with your money, that's when we'll start guiding you to the middle path of generosity. And generosity is not to give out too much money, not to give too little money, but to give in a healthy way. So that is the mahalach that is the function of that is when extreme activity, not extreme behavior. Meaning, we're not talking about extreme qualities and personality trait, because extreme personality is not what we're looking for. We're talking about extreme action. Sometimes a person needs extreme action to get him to the middle path. So, right? So we could. So the Rambam says like this. So what's going to happen is that we're going to have a person do something that is a bad behavior. It's a bad behavior. Spending a lot of money in the fanciest restaurant, spending exorbitant amount of money is a bad behavior. But we're going to tell this person that you can't be generous. Why? Because that's like taking someone who has a high body temperature and a fever, and we tell him, act like an old person. The problem is that if you don't treat his fever and you don't do something extreme and you don't put him in an ice bath, then his body temperature is going to rise too high. So you need to do something extreme. You can't treat him like a healthy person. That is why this person that has money issues and he holds on to his money too much, he needs to be treated, and you need to make him spend too much money. The Rambam says something very interesting. So what the Rambam says is, what we'll do is, we'll make this person spend money again and again and again until he starts going that way, and still we see that his behavior, reflecting obviously on something that's happening inside, is starting to go towards one direction, and that's when we'll stop. Now, it's very interesting, because according to the Rambam, moral ethics, in a certain sense, for everyone that's not absolutely healthy, which is 98% of the population, is subjective. In other words, when someone knocks on your door, and he's collecting money, how much money should you give him? the Rambam would say that it depends. So it depends on a few things. First of all, it depends on the person's situation. What is your responsibility towards that person, right? There's an intake. Immediately there's an intake. Is that person your brother? Is he your cousin? Is he your neighbor? Is he a Talmid Chacham? Is he whatever it is. So there's a lot of intake. After you do all the intake, the question is, who are you? Now, are you a person that has tendency to spend too much money? Then give him $5. If you're a person that you have a tendency to be stingy, give him $400, right? So ethically, morally, there is no right answer how much money you're supposed to give him. Now, if for the two people in the generation that are perfectly regulated, they should go ask their local rabbi. So we're not talking about them. But for all of us, there is no answer what I'm supposed to eat in a restaurant, because everything depends in your eating habits. So if you overindulge, and then you should probably whatever. Now you could take into account. We're doing intake. Intake is it your wife's birthday? Is it a special occasion? Are you going out? Okay, then maybe it's okay. Now, maybe, even though the other guy could go out to a nice restaurant for a special occasion, you can't, because you never stop going to restaurants and you never stop spending money, so you can't go out for any, and you can never buy, you can only buy tuna cans, right? So again, all these things, what is the correct action? What is the correct behavior is very, very subjective, because it depends on every person's situation at that time and to what extreme he needs to take himself. That's very interesting. So now, this is what the Rambam says, that again, someone who has, now by the way, the Rambam gave us a list of 10 things, 10 categories, where he gave every category had a lacking and an excess, right? Now, not everyone is sick in every one of them. I think people, there are some people that were brought up in generous homes, certain people were brought up with a temperament, was a healthy temperament. So not everyone is completely and utterly sick. I don't think we have to say that. I think that people have, you meet people all the time, and you could always see, open your eyes and ears and you'll see this person, he's a Bal Midas, his kids are Bal Midas. This person is a Bal Tzedakah, and this person is not a big Bal Taiva. And you see the way he eats by Kiddush, you see the way he walks in the street, you see the way he talks. This person talks nicely, this person doesn't talk Lashon Hara. You're Lamed Mekaladam, you have an intake that you really see that people do have a lot of milas, and there are healthy people around. Now, even these healthy people that we know, they probably also are not overall healthy. Everyone has an area in which they excel, and maybe this is the area where he's in the middle path and he's balanced and he's objective and he's okay and he's healthy. And then this person, let's say there's a big Baal Tzedakah. He's a big Baal Tzedakah, but he also has a massive appetite, right? So this person, when it comes to his money, he's very well regulated. He gives meiser, he doesn't spend like crazy, he doesn't have unhealthy, he doesn't fly private jets, he doesn't whatever, but he gives tzedakah, he's generous. So his money issues are okay, but his food, Hashem Yerachim, is 500 pounds, right? So this guy, he has to come to the clinic for that, and not for this. So every person, we're all complex human beings. And again, these things are based on nurture. They're basically, the Rambam is extremely anti-nature. That's what we saw before. There's no such thing nature in the Rambam. Every person is born with an equal opportunity. Now, nurture could be from day one. If you're Nebuch born in the ghetto in Detroit, I don't know statistically what your chances is that when you're going to be 15, you don't have equal choices. You have to be silly to assume that. But so circumstantially, people are going to be very, very different. And then everyone has their healthy areas and their sick areas. And the Rambam again says that what do you do when someone shows up to the clinic, to the Rambam's clinic, to the Shemaine Prakim clinic, and he shows up and he has strong deficiencies in his appetite of soul. So the Rambam says, every area that you struggle with, we take you to the other extreme. And we say, even though a healthy person, we wouldn't tell him to spend this amount of money. And a healthy person, we wouldn't tell him to eat. Or a healthy person, we would tell him to read Shema regularly. Now you have OCD. So if you have OCD, then you have to read Shema in 45 seconds. And under the other guy, so again, these are things that you have to go to the Chachamim in every generation. Fine. So this is what the Rambam says. So the middle path is a way, again, I'm sorry, the extremes, this is very important to the Rambam. The extremes are never ideal. Never. There's one exception. We're not going to talk about it now. The extremes are not the ideal. When you see someone fasting the whole day and not talking to people and being a Kaddish and hiding and whatever, that is not the ideal. That is extreme and that's not healthy. The only time when a person can be extreme is when it's a remedy for this specific person in this specific situation to get him back to the middle path. in an area where you, per se, you specifically struggle, that is where you should go extreme until you reach the middle path in that way, and then right away you should stop with extreme activity. So the Rambam says, just let's finish this thing with this person that's very stingy. So he says, if this person spends a lot of money, and he always spends, and he made $10,000 and he flew a private jet and whatever, so this person will tell him that he's not allowed to spend any money on himself, nothing. He's not. Now, what the Rambam says is very interesting. Okay, but we're gonna have to stop here. So let's stop here, and that is that we understand that the middle path, that is the Derech Hashem Latzedakah Mishpat Elikim Asasodam Yasha, that is the independence of both extremes, and the only time when it is legitimate to act in an extreme way, that is as a remedy for a specific deficiency that you have, and you'll be conscious, and this has to be through guidance. You have to have guidance to this, because a person won't always appreciate where he's at and probably doesn't have the self-awareness to do that. So you have to, as a therapist, you could call it as a moral, as a soul doctor. The Rambam says the soul doctor has to look out that you don't go to the other extreme, right? So he'll tell you to spend a lot of money or not to spend any money on yourself. You can't buy yourself anything, right? So you can't buy magazines for Shabbos because you spent too much money. Because last week you went on a trip you shouldn't have been, this week you can't buy magazines for Shabbos. That's it. The other guy could, the other guy doesn't have your issues. So that is, again, until we see that this person says, oh wow, see, it's a good thing not to spend so much money, and then the person's life goes on a trajectory where he spends less and less money. That's not good. So this is something that we have to be mindful of, and that is step 1 in the treatment.